Well, we're here again. I'm excited to be here. As always, thanks for tuning in, guys. It's another episode of the weekly Daily podcast. A lot of stuff. It's been a busy week, per usual, but got a lot of comedy stuff, a lot of outside comedy stuff. I've said it before. I hate mentioning the weather every single week, but it is April 27th today, the day of the recording, and it's snowing. There's 3 inches of snow on the ground. It's been 80, 70 degrees, 60. I don't know. It's been warm the last week, and then Denver weather is just like, let's not get too excited about spring. We got to keep you honest, okay? Keep you uncertain about what's to come. So here's a day of snow. I mean, I don't like it. It better stop. I have to drive today if it keeps going. Whatever. Denver, Colorado. It's a low-hanging fruit. It's overdone. People talk about it. I talk about it every week on this podcast. But it is obnoxious. Mentally, to go from like, all right, we are easing into spring. The weather has been nice. T-shirts, shorts, running, sun, vitamin D, whatever you affiliate with spring, okay? Allergies, those. I would rather have allergies than look at this stupid snow right now. It just makes things more difficult, but here we are. Here we are yet again. Hopefully it's not an issue for driving tonight. But the last week, other than today, there's been no snow, and that's been nice. And we're here. We're here. It's end of April. We're almost to May. Got a bunch of big things coming up in May. May's going to be a busy travel month. A lot of comedy stuff going on. I'm finishing up the Whole30 diet. Not tomorrow, but April 30th. How many days are in April? January, February, March, April. 30 days. I did the knuckle test. Look at your knuckles and figure out how many days are in the month. So 30 days. Here in a couple days, finishing up. It'll be nice to go back to some carbs, some oatmeal. Looking forward to that. I have felt good, though. I've been feeling good, consistent. Still need to get more sleep. And I can definitely tell the lack of carbs. Like, I feel it on runs. My body just doesn't really have the carbs to burn as energy, or whatever the scientific, whatever words that you use for the inner workings of your body. Metaphysical? No. My metaphysical. What does meta even mean? People talk about it. They're like, that's meta. I'm dumb. I'm really dumb. I don't know what it means. I know it's apparently the new name that Facebook's trying to change to. What's up with all these companies trying to change their names? Facebook, they're like, we're going to Meta. It's like, yeah, but Facebook is like, I don't know, known by every single person on the planet. Feels like you did pretty good. You got it. The branding is fine. Let's go ahead and keep it that way. And they're like, you know what? Let's pick a word that people like Ben Dailey don't know what the definition means. Meta. Is meta like beta, but like ma with an M? It's like an online beta. Probably not. I'll look it up after. Metaphysical, metamorphosis. Isn't there like something with animals, like a caterpillar turning into a butterfly that's like a meta something? The process is called Megatron. It's been said before. I'm sure this is an overly done topic, but caterpillars, they're real life transformers. Pretty incredible. Honestly, You talk about miracles, you talk about the miracle of life, you talk about all the crazy, awesome, insane things that happen on this planet, in this world, and caterpillars not talked about enough. Okay, you start out as a little creepy crawly insect, and then you just go to bed for a little bit and come out able to fly. That's legitimately insane. That's that's the equivalent of like a human giving birth to a child. They crawl around. They do whatever they do for a couple years, and then they just crawl back into your womb and just hang out there for a little bit until they grow wings. That's pretty much what it is. That's insane. If I could crawl into a womb right now and come out with wings, I would do it. Okay? 6 months, a year. I'll go full term. I'll go 9 months in a womb. Would have to be a pretty big womb at this point, but there's some big birthing hips out there. I could probably. All right, this has really gone off the rails. This is. It's funny. This is a clean pod. I try to keep it clean. And I think that was clean, but that was kind of a weird thing. As I was talking about it, you start seeing the images in your head, and I'm like, I don't know if this is crossing a line or not. It's just crossing a weird line. But I stand by my point. If I could get wings, I would cocoon myself. Whatever that means. Yeah, people should talk about it more. It's literally magic is what it is. And you just take it for granted. You're like, "Oh, there's a butterfly." You're like, "That used to be a caterpillar." Okay, that's like a lizard. If a lizard were to go into hibernation for a little bit and then cover themselves with some little webbing or whatever, and then they come out a dragon. And honestly, maybe that's what used to happen. Maybe dragons used to come from lizards after they had their metamorphic. Is that a word? If you're a scientist, I think that describes the process of changing caterpillar to butterfly. Either way, that's probably, if dragons did exist in the past, probably just a lizard that went to bed for 6 months, woke up with some wings, was able to barf fire out of their mouth. Dude, talk about indigestion. You think dragons used Tums back then? Boy, because that feels like, you think heartburn's bad. Try breathing fire out. That's got to hurt, You're getting ready to go to bed. You burp, a little fire comes out. You're not going to sleep. That's crazy. Okay, you're up all night. You're not getting sleep. You're just going to be like a stressed out dragon. Okay, no wonder they were burning villages to the ground. They're probably not sleeping. Their throat is raw. Nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about the physical stresses that come with being a dragon. You know what movie? There was a movie, I can't remember the name of it, but it had Matthew McConaughey. It was maybe early 2000s movie, dragon movie. A movie that had dragons. And it was a very good movie from what I remember. That's a movie I need to go back and watch. There's a lot of those old movies that you see once and you're like, that was really good. And then you just keep trying these new Netflix movies or these new streaming movies where they have the big actors in it, but they're just pumping them out. And it's just not this. You're like, all right, that was whatever. That movie was fine. Netflix movies, even if they have the big actors, they're like the new version of Hallmark movies. You're like, yeah, they did the thing, and they put it together quickly. I mean, obviously the budget and the actors and people there's a lot more there, but they're just throwing it together. And do I have any examples of this? No, I do not. Could I be talking out of my behind? My wasp hind. My buttocks. Yes, I could be, and I'm sure I am. But a lot of them do seem not great. You're like, this had potential if you would have maybe taken an extra couple months to like try. But because a lot of them aren't like coming out, I guess, in the movie theater, it's not like as grandiose of a thing, if that's even the correct way to use grandiose. But boy, I'll tell you what, I felt myself, you guys probably felt it too. I pivoted about 4 times from my original point to the point where I don't know where I started. And you know what? That's a common theme in this podcast, is just going where my brain leads me. And look, we can be honest. You guys, if you've listened before, a lot of times that goes to a place that's not interesting and nobody wants to hear about. But I digress. Dragon talk. Haven't talked about dragons ever, probably. But that would be wild if that was discovered, you know, with like the anthropologist or whatever, archaeologist, you know, people digging up dinosaur bones and stuff, if they're like, oh, we actually discovered dragons. Dragons were real, and how do you even go extinct if you're a flying lizard that breathes fire? That's crazy if you go extinct. Like, that's on you as a species, as a dragon species. If you can't survive when you're able to fly and breathe fire on your targets, like, that's 100 out of 100 times you will beat your enemy, any other species. But you're like, couldn't make it. Also, like, that's the perfect, you know, you see all these carnivores, all these animals and species, they just got to catch their prey and eat it raw, dude. These lions out here running around, you know, eating some zebra and just eating it raw and the blood. I mean, that's gross. That's nasty. Dragons, you spit a little fire, you got a meal that's medium rare, you know? Spit a little extra fire if you like it well done. I mean, ready to go meals. That would be the dream. You know, like if I was a hunter-gatherer, or even now, you know, I guess it would be, if I looked a little bit more to the primal times of our species, that would be a little more relatable. But if I was able to like go out and hunt, and there was a deer, and I could just like shoot it with whatever, even if it was a gun, you shoot it with a gun, and then that bullet has like fire on it or whatever, some way to just like, as soon as the bullet kills it, it makes the meat cooked. Now, you know, that doesn't really even make sense, because then you'd be like, all right, well, I've got cooked meat and now I got to take it to the truck and blah, 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 and it's going to be bad by the time. All right, I get it. Okay, but a dragon would eat a deer in one bite. Probably. I don't know how big dragons got. Or get. Maybe they're like Bigfoot. What's more realistic? Bigfoot being real or dragons having existed in the past? Existing in the past. I don't know. All I'm trying to say is, if you're able to kill your prey and also cook it to your preferred well doneness, I don't know how, your preferred tenderness, what is the word? Your preferred cooking? I don't know. Words are hard for me, guys. I legitimately sometimes feel, not even sometimes, just most of the time, I feel so dumb and stupid. You're like, what is the word? I've lived here for 35 years. I've read books. I've watched a bunch of stuff. I've communicated with a lot of people. And I don't even know how I've done that. Because I just don't know. I'm like, what is this word? How am I even communicating with people? They're just using words that I don't know. And I'm just like, yes. Yes, this is intriguing. I like talking and listening to people that say things that I don't know what they mean. But either way, we're going to get off the dragon topic, start talking about some real stuff, some stuff that I've been up to this week. Like I said, it's snowing right now, and that's a bummer. I was going to run today, but no more. I might go to the gym. Last week actually, last weekend went to Planet Fitness for the first time in like probably over a year. It's been a long time. And I've been paying $22 a month, just losing money. But I went there, I worked out, and then after the workout, I said I would like to discontinue my membership. So I did that. Only lost $240. Just didn't make use of it. But I'm and here's the reason. Planet Fitness, you probably know this. They make you have to go in. You can't like do it online and go, "Hey, I want to cut off my membership." You have to go in. And it was so easy. It was so simple going in. And I was like, "Why have I not gone in?" But that's their business model. Just getting people to commit to paying and then not wanting to take 10 minutes to discontinue the membership. But I did that, and I guess my payment had gone through a couple of days before that, so I have like the next month. So I might go out to Planet Fitness later today. But the running, other than today with the snow, I've been doing it a lot more. It feels great running in spring weather. And wow, something sounds like there's commotion going on upstairs. I don't know what it is, but I ran a couple times this week, and I had a weird thing happen on I don't know what day it was, but I went for a run, and as I came back, I had my headphones in. I'm walking back, listening to music, walking back pretty close to my apartment, and there were these two young children playing in the apartment complex. They were kicking a soccer ball or something. I'm minding my own business. I'm just walking, and one of them kind of like cuts me off on the sidewalk and says something to me. So I take out my headphones and I said, "What's that?" And she, they're kids where English is not their first language. So she said something to me and I didn't understand what she said. And I said, "What's that?" And she said it again and I didn't understand. I'm like, "What is that?" And her older sister, so just to give you context, this girl's probably 5 or 6. Her older sister's maybe 10. So the younger one's the one who cut me off on the sidewalk and was trying to tell me something. I didn't understand her. And then finally, the sister goes, she said people steal kids. She said people steal children. And I was like, what? People steal children? Okay. And then I'm not even kidding. Like this little girl, she goes, "Yeah, be careful." I was like, what? I was just finished a run, just had my headphones out. So it was one of those things where you're just like, okay, yeah, be careful. And I walked off, but I was like, what in the world kind of interaction was that? I mean, it was kind of funny, but it was also like, I couldn't tell they probably just had like a conversation with their parents where their parents were like, be careful, people steal children, be careful while you're out there playing. But I was like, does she think I'm a kid? Look, I get it. I look young, but I'm 35. I'm going to be bald in 6 months. Please tell me I don't look like a kid. I'll take 24. Okay, I'll take it. But 14, 12, 10, you think I'm a kid? And then on the other side, I'm like, were you telling me I look like a kid, or were you telling me did I look like somebody who would steal kids? Either way, I was like, look, 6-year-old, you've really offended me, and now we're mortal enemies, okay? And look, I'm going to climb into a womb, and I'm going to come out a dragon, and I'm going to spit some fire at you if you say some dirty things, nasty things like that to me again. No, but it was kind of funny. It's one of those random interactions you have sometimes where you're just like thrown off guard and someone says something like really random and you're just like, okay, people still, yeah, be careful. I was like, okay, yeah, you be careful too. And I walked in my apartment confused. But it has been good. I've been feeling, good getting in the routine of running pretty much every day. Like I said, I do feel lethargic or lower energy with a lot of these runs, and I think it's just the lack of carbs, not having a bunch of carbs. So that makes sense. Looking forward to getting some carbs back into the diet, some more carbs, and attacking some of these longer runs. Hopefully, training for some sort of half marathon or longer race here later in the summer. So that should be fun. So this week, good weather for the most part until today. Tuesday, had a little date night. Went on a date with Dailey to Rockies game, Colorado Rockies, the baseball team here in Colorado, in Denver, which is fun. I've only been to, I guess I've been to a couple games. I went to a game last year with my cousin and his family, and that was over like 4th of July weekend, so they did the big fireworks display, and I mean, that was fun. It was like sold out. It was packed. That was a good time. And then I've been maybe a time or two outside of that. But yeah, went there playing the Padres. I'll be honest, I've lost all interest. Well, yeah, pretty much all interest. Baseball, I lost interest in a long time ago. I used to be obsessed with sports. That was like my entire life. And I slowly, as I got into other hobbies and things and, became an adult, and then especially, I guess, before comedy, but traveling and then comedy and all these things, it's like I just lost touch with a lot of the stuff. But I will say baseball is fun, and I think this is what's keeping baseball alive, is the live experience going, and like, it's just like you're going and you're hanging. You're in this big space, and there's a game going on, but also there's like music and like things that hype up the crowd and little mini games and all the concession stands. And most of the time, it's probably decent weather, so you're like out in the sun. We didn't drink or anything, but a lot of people do that, so it's just like a fun hang. And it was a fun hang. I will say there were not that many people there. It was Tuesday night. And so there's people around, but there's nobody. You're not like stuffed in this sold out arena where you can't move around. It was pretty spaced out person to person. And we watched some of the game. The Rockies ended up winning, which they're terrible. They're like I think they were 5-16 going into that game. So I guess that would put them at 6-16 if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I don't know. Did not recognize any of the players. Although, like I said, I haven't followed baseball in a while, so most of the big name people that I'm familiar with have kind of phased out or retired probably at this point. But that was a fun time. Got there. It worked. We parked like almost a mile away. That's classic Ben Dailey move. Find the free parking and let's walk there, which I'm totally fine doing. The only problem was they were calling for rain, and so it was like, we might have to walk there and back in the rain. But it worked out. This is the first time in a long time where everything worked out great, in the sense that we parked. It was really cloudy. We walked, 15-ish minutes to get to the stadium. Started raining as soon as we got in the stadium, and we had one of the few seats where we were under like a mezzanine or like a cover. There was like 3 levels, and we were on the second level, so the third level above us was blocking the rain. So it started raining immediately. Our seats happened to be covered, which was great. A lot of seats in the stadium are not covered, so people were having to either sit in the rain or there weren't that many people, so they could just grab a seat in a different spot. Wasn't a huge deal. But then when we left, it wasn't raining, and we walked back to the car, and as soon as we stepped foot in the car, it started raining. So, like, it just worked out perfectly as far as we didn't have an umbrella or ponchos, but we made it. And that was, just good, nice gift from the weather gods there. But during the game, it was fun. We are on Whole30. We're doing the Whole30 diet. So we were looking for something to nibble on. We got some peanuts, which actually technically, look, if you're aware of the Whole30 diet, regular peanuts are not supposed to be on there. But we broke the diet in a way. I mean, neither of us are allergic to peanuts. It was fine. If you're going to cheat, that's like a very, very minimal cheat that we both decided is not a big deal. But we were also trying to get some coffee. There, we looked at like the little just whatever list of concession stands and things that they have. We Googled it, and it had like a breakdown of all the things that are available. And then beside those items, like food items, say like hot dog, nachos, beer, whatever, everything that they had, beside it, it listed where you could find those. So there was a spot that said coffee, specifically decaf, and it said section 223. And we were like, great, let's get some decaf coffee, have something to sip on, something warm, something that won't give us too much caffeine to stay up, and something that's Whole30 approved. So we started the journey. We started walking around, and boy, if you've ever been in just most stadiums, especially baseball stadiums, it's like, where are we going? And I say baseball stadiums because a lot of other stadiums, they're like symmetrical. So you can like kind of figure it out. But baseball stadiums are not symmetrical usually, because you have like, in the outfield, you don't have as many levels usually. But then behind home base and to the left of third base and right of first base, at least from the perspective of behind home base, you've got, some of these, usually it's built up pretty high there, but in the outfield and certain sections, it's just a different layout. So you can kind of have a couple sections that have 3 levels and then others that have 1 level. And then, so you're just roaming around like, how do I get to this place? So we were doing that, and we were like, where in the world is 223? Like, we're walking, it's like 219, 220, and then it kind of just like disappears. And so we go up a level, but then we get to the 3rd level, and it's like, all right, we're at the 3rd level, it's 330, and we're walking, counting down, it's 325, 324, 323. We're like, okay, we can't go down here 1 level, but maybe it's one of those sections where the 3rd level turns into the 2nd level because it's like a weird, I don't know. Long story short, we spent about 30 to 45 minutes walking around trying to find this place. We couldn't. So we finally randomly end up just like, we did a full circle back to our original seats, and there was an attendant there, and I said, hey, we're trying to get to 223. Do you mind giving us directions? And he goes, yeah, you're going to just go through this section here, and then once you get to the suites, just show them your ticket. And I was like, oh, no, our tickets are for here. We just want to go get the coffee. And he was like, well, the coffee is in the suites section. You have to have a suite, like, meaning you have to have a ticket for one of the suites, which are, I don't know, probably $1,000 a person. I was like, yeah, I don't have that. Can we go get? And he goes, no, the coffee's only available in there. And I was like, what, dude? Why? How are you gonna list decaf coffee and then just put 223 and not be like, that's for rich people who have those tickets? Okay, you gotta let me know. Also, you don't have decaf coffee available for the regular pours like me? I don't. That was whack. And then we stood in line at another place that had a coffee machine. We stood in line there for like 15 minutes, and we got there, and the guy was like, no, we don't have coffee. He actually didn't even say that. He was just like, how many hot dogs do you want? And I was like, 0. I would like coffee. And then he said, we don't have coffee. I said, I'll take 2 waters. And he was like, that'll be $14. And I was like, that's my favorite price for a water. $7 a water is, when I go to bed at night and like dream about buying water, I'm like, it better be $7 or I'm going to be upset. And he nailed it. It was $7. But then here's the deal. I've talked about it before. But even at concession stands, I'm paying $7 or whatever for a water. And then they're flipping that screen in your face and going, how much tip do you want to give? And I go, dude, I would like a custom tip, and I would like it to be negative 75%. Okay? When I said I like paying $7 for water, I don't know if you guys picked up on sarcasm, but I don't like it. Okay? I don't like a $3 water. I'd like you to flip that tip screen over and negative 400% tip. Okay? I would like an affordable water. It is funny going to a game like that on a Whole30 diet and being like, we're not going to eat anything. And then ultimately we get a couple waters and peanuts. And you're like, man, we really didn't get much, but that was still 20-something bucks for some bakes. But that's fine. I know I'm ranting and pretending like I'm angry. It's fine. I don't like paying $7 for water, but also that's much better than if we went and each had 5 beers and a couple hot dogs, and you're like, all right, that was $148. Which, speaking of $148, I just spent not quite that much. I spent $139 on underwear. Guys, I know. You don't have to rewind it. I said it. Underwear. I have barely purchased clothing in the past 10 years. And I said, you know what? Let's spend the most money I've ever spent on anything. And let's put it on the undies. 6 pairs of underwear, $140. Pretty crazy. It's honestly what it is I have lived most of my life, not just with underwear, but with all clothing, where like stuff fits but doesn't really fit, and it maybe is not that comfortable, but I'm like, that's just what it is. Sometimes clothes are obnoxious and scratch you and don't fit real good, and that's just how you got to live your life. And as I've gotten older, I've realized you don't have to live your life like that. You can buy stuff that feels good on you. And that's what I'm trying to do, because currently I purchased a new set of underwear about a year ago. I think it's American Eagle. It was like 10 pairs for like 60 or 70 bucks, which even that is like way more than I usually spend. But I was like, okay, I had a gift card, I think. And I was like, okay, this will cover me for the next 20 years of my life. Half joking, but am I? With underwear that'll be comfortable. And it's just not. They're boxer briefs, and they ride up my thigh, and I run a lot, and so it's just, I'm constantly like pulling down the bottom part of the brief on my thigh to try to get it like to just feel normal. So what I ended up doing, the only underwear I've probably ever had that in my life that have been comfortable and worked out well is this brand called Exofio, EXOFFIO, I think, Exofio. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's like they're like $30 a pair, and I got 1 or 2 pairs as a gift like a long time ago. I've never purchased them, but they're good for, I think, moisture, like if you're exercising or hiking or whatever, and they're supposed to, I think, not smell terrible if you get them a little sweaty or whatever. And they fit really well, which is the main reason I liked them, is they just fit well. They were comfortable. And so I bought 6 pairs and I got 2. Here's what I did. I broke it down. I said, let's get a variety. Okay. I got 2 6-inch pairs. And by the way, I got different colors for all of them because I got them through Amazon, and you can just go through the different colors and you're like, okay, the white is $16. If you want the black, that's $32. I'm like, well, I will take whatever color is the cheapest because underwear is, that's what it is. It's under my other clothes. I could care less the color of it. So I got two 6-inch white pairs. I got two 3-inch, so like short brief pairs of like gray or black. And then I got two full-on briefs, like Speedo, in the color blue. First time in my life. I've never owned briefs, true briefs. And you know what? I'm excited about it. I never had, the whole, like, I think it's when you're a kid, it's embedded in your brain, the whole whitey tighty thing. You're like, I can't wear whitey tighties. That's embarrassing. That's what L7 weenies wear, and I can't get bullied. You just have that mindset. I'm 35, but I'm like, dude, if I get caught with whitey tighties, then I'm getting bullied. And they're not white, they're blue. So, little bluey tighties. But I thought about it, and I was like, actually, you know what? You know what would eliminate those boxer briefs riding up while I run? Just buying briefs, because they don't have that part of that's not available. And I was like, wow, I'm 35 years old, and I just realized that it'll probably be 100 times more comfortable to run wearing briefs instead of boxer briefs. So that's a pretty big revelation in my world. Pretty dumb and silly, but we'll see. I'm excited for those to come in. And yeah, I'm excited for those to be hopefully comfortable and be my underwear that I can use for the next decade. Now, if you think that's gross, well, get over it. They won't last a full decade, because the ones I had before, they're very good, they're high quality, but they are kind of like the elastic part of them just has a shelf life, whether that's 5 years, whatever it is. Like the other ones, I like them quite a bit, but I no longer wear them really because the elastic is kind of worn out. But that was my big purchase of the week. Got that, and I've been buying a lot of stuff on Amazon recently. I was just, before starting this podcast, I was looking into buying a new set of golf irons, an iron set. And I was like, should I do it or should I not? I've been buying a bunch of stuff recently and throwing down another $400, $500, $600, whatever. These irons are so expensive. It's kind of crazy. I was like, I don't know if that'll be a good idea. Anyways, let's get into, man, time is flying on here. I've been rambling like a crazy person. Let's get into some of the comedy of this week. I'll tell you guys this. It was a busy week. I hosted 4 shows. Well, tonight I will be hosting my 4th show of the week, but been doing a lot of hosting, as I mentioned, trying to fit in newer jokes into the host, into my sets in general, but I'm hosting a lot, so I'm trying to get it in there, and I'm feeling good. I know maybe a month ago, 2 months ago, I was a little discouraged about my creative rut and my ability to come up with new jokes, and I still need to write more. I need to work on good stories. If you all know me and know my past, especially, if you have any stories that you think that I've talked about in the past, or that you remember that I did that were weird, funny, interesting, let me know. I am struggling to think of like stories that I can talk about. But I do have some bits that I've been working on. I've talked about it on past podcasts, and they are working decently. And I'm very excited about that. If you don't have new stuff that gives you that like buzz, that creative high in a sense, it's really hard to be motivated and keep going out and doing the same stuff over and over. So it feels good to do the new stuff, have it kind of work, and that just helps me like stay present also, because it can be easy to be on autopilot when you're just doing the same set over and over, and you really have no connection to those jokes anymore. They're just words, like literally it's just harder to sell it and be present when you've said it so many times. So it's nice to have some newer stuff that I'm able to like talk out and like, you know, have a connection to that moment. Because I'm talking about stuff that happened or has happened recently, and you're like, that happened pretty recently. And so I'm still like telling it as if it's a recent thing rather than just saying something that you've said for the last 5 years. And you're like, I don't even know that I have a feeling about that anymore. But yeah, hosted 4 shows this week. Did a show on Wednesday. Hosted a rotating tap show at Stranahan's Distillery, which is a distillery in Denver. It's off Alameda, if you're familiar with the area. Exit 208 on I-25. And it was great. It was a Wednesday show. You know, weekday shows, you know, it can just be harder to have people come out and fill a space. You know, a lot of times like Thursday, Friday, Saturday are kind of the main shows. So Wednesday, this show was sold out. It was probably about 100 people. It was in a big open, you know, distilling area. It wasn't in their like bar area or seating area. It was kind of they put chairs out in their distillery area. So it was a cool like background. You got all the big, whatever you call them, barrels and whatever the words are for the things that they use in distilleries. And hosted that. Did one or two new things, but for the most part, tried to keep it tight, and it was fun. It was a good time. It was a full crowd. It was a little older and a bigger space, so some of the laughs felt like they got maybe lost in the air in the space. But also, it was one of those crowds where you go, they're having a good time, they're enjoying this. It's a Wednesday night. They're a little bit older. It's just not the same level, decibel level of, you know, maybe a Friday or Saturday night where you have a young crowd that's like got drinks in them and they're just letting loose. With that said, good show, fun show. Everybody did well in there, and that was a good time. That was one of the bigger rotating tap shows I've done. It was a ticketed show, so it wasn't like a free show where you're trying to wrangle people in necessarily. So that was very fun. Did that on Wednesday night, and then Thursday night did another rotating tap show hosted at Coal Mine Ave Brewing in Littleton. It's a monthly show that I started hosting there. That one is a free show, and that one was pretty lightly attended and a little rough. It can be a little bit rough, but it's also a good one to work out some new stuff, and then also just to stay humble in a way. Like, you need some of those shows where maybe people aren't paying attention, or you really need to like get people's attention and show that you're confident and not show that you're like shaken or anything like that. And I felt good. I felt silly. I felt good about hosting it. I will say it was I think the Nuggets game 3 was on that night, and then it was also the first night of the NFL draft. So it was more lightly attended than usual, which makes sense. But still had fun. I threw in a bunch of new stuff, and it was still a good time. That was Thursday. Last night, hosted a Don't Tell show in Denver at like at a hotel, but it's in like a kind of taco place. It's on the rooftop of the hotel, and that was great. It was like 50 people is sold out. They were all stuffed in there, and just such a hot room. I did a lot of new stuff. Probably half my host set was new stuff, and it was like ripping, like harder than the old stuff, which was wild. But they were a great crowd. They were on board. They were ready to go. And it felt good to do the new stuff and get like a good reaction. It is weird though, because it's at the top of this hotel, and so as the host with Don't Tell, like I'm checking tickets in, I'm checking people in, And then I'm also I'm setting up the sound stuff. I'm checking people in with their tickets. I'm hosting the show. So doing all that stuff. But because of this setup, there's um, literally you just go to the top floor of the elevator and then it spits you out in this room. And so people aren't aware that like the show's happening. They're just like at the hotel wanting to come grab a drink or some food. And so I had to play like bouncer too. Like people are coming up and like walking in these big groups. And it's a small room too. So people are coming in and if they're talking, like the crowd's hearing that. And so people kept coming up and I'm like, hey, it's a comedy show. And they're like, what? Huh? And I was like, yeah, you can't be here. Sorry. Sorry. Um so that's always fun playing bouncer as well. But it was a hot show. Great show. The crowd was just eating it up. It honestly, it was one of the hottest shows I've done in quite a while, especially from the host set where I was like, dude, I'm doing new stuff and you guys are losing it. What are the new jokes I've got? Let's go through the new jokes real quick. I'm doing a finger gun bit. I'm doing a turbulence bit. I'm doing a movie theater, walking out of a movie theater bit, which I've talked about here in the past. And the newest joke, which I've talked about before as well, but it's like I've got it down and kind of have been editing and adding and subtracting and changing as needed, bit about food allergies. And that one did very well last night, and that was very exciting. So I'm going to keep working through that, and then I need to start working on some new jokes too. And I feel like I'm pretty close to having like a new 10 that's decent, a new 10 from this year specifically. And that's what you got to do, yeah, especially as I'm doing less open mics and stuff. Putting together, like, it's really important to remember what you need to do as a comic, which is always be writing. I mean, like I just mentioned, being creative is a huge part that keeps it fun. But I'm doing fewer open mics. I'm hosting a lot of shows, so it's tough to, really eat it if your job is to pick the show up and get the show started on a high note. But gotta, I think it's very important to always be like trying to write a new 5 or 10. All of it may not be great, but at least try it. You got to keep moving forward in that sense. Because again, at the end of the day, I'm trying to headline, I'm trying to do this as a full-time job eventually. And you got to have 45 to an hour of like good material. And then once you get that, in 2 years from then, you got to have a new 45 to an hour. So it's a constant process working through jokes and putting everything together. But yeah, that was very fun to have it go well. Tonight I'm hosting another Don't Tell show in the suburbs and gonna try to do the same set as last night, basically. See how that goes with a different crowd, get some more input there. And next week and the next month is gonna be super fun. I'm gonna be flying out to Wisconsin to do the Badgerland Comedy Festival. I think it's May 1st to the 4th. And at the Comedy Cabin. It's in Janesville, Wisconsin. The Comedy Cabin's kind of the club there, and that's, I think, like the main venue for the festival. I'll do a show there Thursday, and then I have a show Friday at another venue I can't remember, and then a show Saturday, which is in like Slinger, Wisconsin. It's like an hour and a half away. So really looking forward to that. Should be a fun hang. I know some comics there, so it should be fun to see everybody. And then mid-May, I'm going to start doing a pretty big tour with Ed Bell, fellow comic in Denver, good buddy. We're going to be driving around all over the place, doing shows all over the country. So that should be fun. Very excited for that. Going to be doing some longer sets, some headlining sets. So very pumped to do the longer sets and especially in some like clubs and cool environments and get some more input and get better. So that should be a good time. Looking forward to that. If you're in any of the area, check out if you go to my Instagram and then click on the link tree, you can see where those shows are. If you're in an area close to those spots, come check out a show. We'd love to see you. But yeah, I'll leave it there. I have rambled for long enough this time, but appreciate you guys if you made it to the end. Appreciate you listening in, as always, and I'll see you guys again next week.